You're watching Legal Focus on TVC News, and yes, it's time for The Advocate, where we get to know more about legal luminaries of our time. Today, The Advocate is Olajingbiti Ogunye, popularly called Jiti Ogunye. He's a very vocal lawyer based here in Nigeria. It's good to have you join us, sir, Mr. Ogunye.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Indeed, thank you for granting us this interview here in your very, very wonderful office. But let's go to the beginning of your journey in life, so to speak. Did you always know, even as a child, that you would be an advocate or lawyer?
All I wanted to be in my life growing up was to be a lawyer. For me, there was no second profession, no second calling, no second vocation. It was just law. And it wasn't because I had either of my two parents as a lawyer, or I had anybody in my family as a lawyer, or uncle or auntie. Nobody preceded me in the field of law in my family,
right,
so to speak. And what inspired me was the exploits, the relevance, and the contribution of lawyers to national development. From afar, I'm talking about the likes of Chief Ganifa that I later knew in life, and we became very close, and some other lawyers like that, whose work one was reading as a young star
and had an influence
on the pages of the newspaper. So that inspired me a lot. I chose University of Benin. In year one, I joined the radical left movement, right from my 100 level. And I worked in that movement. The movement was as important to me as my regular academic work. It was during the military era. And I imbibed the idea of young people participating in the process of getting rid of militarism in Nigeria. And so I was announced, I was in the Patriotic Youth Movement of Nigeria, which was the left core movement that was in control of the National Association of Nigerian Students.
Did that include SUG?
Yes, Student Union Government we didn't call it government, we were calling it Student Union.
Okay.
I think it was at the time students
Later
also felt
that
they're
entitled
to be calling themselves government, that they started calling themselves SUT and all that. So that was it, and that prepared the ground for my latter day activism in the civil society and the pro-democracy movement and all that.
And then you eventually became a lawyer. What was pupillage like? Where did you further learn the ropes of law?
It was then, people like me and for our colleagues, it was settled. Because right from the time we were in the university, we already had links with the radical,
of course,
intelligentsia in the university, our lecturers,
and outside.
Right. So outside activist lawyers, and
you just had to be.
So
you had to
if you are not
trend.
going to go to Chief, but it has to be Allah Akaba Chambers or Commissioner Shobu Chamber. That it was settled, and later Professor Isesagi when he left the university, that kind of thing. So in the law school, I did my chambers attachment in Allah Akaba Chambers.
That was about here in Lagos.
No, in Lagos,
in
you know. In Butemeta West, in the Butemeta, where he had a law firm. Allah Akabashon was the president of the Nigerian Bar Association
NBA at the time.
At the time. So from there, after qualifying at the law school, youth service, Mr. Kemi Fola-Adeyemo was leaving the Alao Akabashon chambers after being there for about 10 years. And so it was natural that
so you moved on with him?
To him. And so I served in that law firm.
And that
it was called Kemi Fola-Adeyemo Chambers Day. Yeah. It wasn't Fola-Adeyemo Chambers.
Oh, right.
And so, and I wasn't alone. You know, there are other colleagues, Luka Garenu, Shimeke Oyesi, Bello Adeloje, you know, of the Benin left persuasion, students, lawyers, activists. So we were there, and I served there, and I worked there for about 8-9 straight years.
What would you call your breakthrough case that really put you in the eye, especially when you now branched out and established your own law firm?
I can't really say that there is one breakthrough case for me. In the experiences of many lawyers whose memo or stories we've read, even in the popular media, some, you know, I've come across as saying that yes, there's this particular case that I did, and then I blossomed and things turn around. For me, it's been a collection of good things. And even while I was a junior in Kemi Fola-Adeyemo Chambers, right from the 3rd, 4th month, I started winning cases that I consider very significant. You know, given the background, my background I've just supplied, you can be imagined that cases involving student union leaders rusticated on account of their union activities were very important to us. Because those students had nothing. They only had the pursuit of their career, and they put that on the line. When you're challenging authoritarian university or tertiary institution administrators who, by a stroke of the pen, usually after a kangaroo student disciplinary panel exercise, could expel you, your career will be at an end. As a matter of fact, when we are in the law school, we had problems. And what were the problems? Right from the school, there was reluctance to recommend us. Indeed, they were writing negative things about us in our recommendation, stating that on the ground of character,
while in school,
yes,
in university,
because we are always a thorn in the flesh of authority, so we weren't fit and proper to be admitted to the law school. In the cases of some of our colleagues, Mr. Alao Akabashon of blessed memory now had to intervene, telling, and he had the courage, he had the prestige, you know, with him, telling them that, look, in the law school, when we were in England, we were in the West African Student Union. So those people in the Inns of Court should have expelled us. In a white man land, we weren't expelled. And so if these students are not allowed to champion popular causes, what kind of leaders do you think they will be in the future? Those cases, many students' cases, at the last count, I can't even count the number of, and I'm being realistic, the number of students, union leaders, workers, things like that, that we've helped throughout those processes. And so this started coalescing in terms of giving us professional fulfillment and rewards. And apart from that, in the commercial corporate sphere, we've also handled many cases that we can't just say for confidentiality reason that this is one case that made us. The philosophical view I take is that it's not one matter that will make or mar you. Even when you have that one big break, that big break will be a culmination of other small breaks that you've had that then puts you in a vantage position for that person giving you that big break to see you, to identify you as somebody of value that could service him before the big break will come.
What are your thoughts on the legal profession after all these years that you've been an active practitioner?
I think there is the need to do a lot of reforms in the legal profession in Nigeria. Very fundamental reforms, because things are not going the way they all should go, in my own humble view. For example, a lot of innovations have been brought into the legal profession, which are not progressive and positive. Indeed, which are serving as a blockade to the critical issue of access to justice. For example, our courts are impeding access to justice now by imposing all sorts of penalties on practitioners and parties as default. They think they are aiding the administration of justice. No, they are not, because our courts are not supposed to be viewed as revenue generating entities. No, you can't be talking about justice administration and be talking about how they are going to be generating revenue, or the police force, for example. And so when you have a court saying that apart from outrageous filing fees now, I just filed a case of 1 billion naira claim. 1 billion naira claim. We paid over 550,000. That's recent. In the Lagos State Judiciary. That's not progressive.
And that was recently reviewed.
That's not progressive. And so if a lawyer, you know, is supposed to file a process within 7 days, it's not filed every day, he has to pay 1,000 naira. But look at it this way. A lawyer has 42 days to react to a writ of summons and all that. Right. But a motion, 7 days or so. So if he doesn't do it, then 1,000 per day. To nudge him to do it. But what of the judge? The judge had 3 months to write a judgment. And then you get to the court and the judge says that I have too many judgments to write. I can't write any judgment. I need more time. So who pays the lawyer the penalty? You have dates for trials. And on more than 2 occasions, those dates are vacated by the courts. Because the court will tell you, I have too many trials. I don't want to start fresh trials. I won't be able to cope. So who pays the lawyer? So the point I'm making is that, what I'm suggesting is that they should not penalize such defaults. Okay. If they're going to be penalties, these should be symbolic only, because they have implications for the whole concept of access to justice. But overall, I think that the legal profession is beset with a lot of challenges. Challenge of fulfillment by new entrants who have the impression that there is a glut because they are looking for jobs they can't get. Okay.
Thank you so much for this interview. And that's how it's been on The Advocate for this week with Lagos-based lawyer Jiti Ogunye. Thank you so much for your